welcome back to Pre-Algebra Chapter 11, Section 4 in this book. And we've been talking about data. And lately we've been talking about honesty in data and how often people will use statistics and data or data, however you say it, to manipulate people. And we talked about how that is just not being honest. That we need to be honest in our use of science and math, okay? So one of the ways that data can be manipulated is how it's collected. And sometimes, you just do the best you can. You're not being dishonest. You're just working with what you got. But so these are different ways to collect data to find out how people think or something like that. One is a random sample. If it's a random sample, everyone has an equal chance of having their opinion polled. So that's really hard to do, because even if you pick people, you call on the phone, you have to get the people who answer, people who have phones, people who have cell phone coverage, or so it's really hard to get a truly random sample, which might be good. A systematic sample, you make a rule to who is chosen. So like when they do presidential election polls, we have the presidential election coming up this fall, they might have a rule of likely voters. It might be someone who's voted in the last 3 elections, they're probably going to vote again. Or it might be a rule that you are doing a poll on people with tobacco use and you only pick people who are of age to legally use tobacco. You make a rule and you apply it to your sample. A stratified sample, stratified means like striped. So it's from certain groups. So this is the thing that threw off when we were talking about last time about the polls going into the last election that showed that Hillary was going to win in a huge landslide by at least 12%, 15% I saw of the vote, which she did not do. This is where they messed up. What they did is they polled people from groups, and then they counted, depending on what group you were in, they counted your opinion more or less. For example, the one I was reading about, they said that they decided, they gave weight to people's opinion based on their sex and their ethnicity. So if it was an opinion from a white woman, they counted it less because they said white women are more likely to give you their opinion. I think they're right there. If it was a Hispanic man, they said they're reserved. They're less likely to give you their opinion, so they would count their poll result worth more. Whatever they did, it was wrong though, because the polls were so off, and they put their own bias and manipulation into it. And it was very hurtful. Go watch the last tape if you want to hear me talk about it. It was devastating to Hillary and her supporters, who thought they were winning with 12 to 15 points ahead, and instead she was not sworn in as president. So even if you think that it was rigged or whatever, it was not 15 points rigged. It wasn't that big of a thing. It was the pollsters were dishonest in their reporting, or they just, it was across the board. It was dishonesty. And the majority of the pollsters, they went back and polled them, and they were pulling for Hillary. So they were letting their personal bias affect their science. And that we don't want to do that as scientists. We want to be removed and be as honest as we can. Another way you can poll people is a convenience sample. People easy to poll. So you go stand at the mall, and when people walk by, you say, do you want to take a survey? And the ones who say yeah, they get polled. Now that's not a very good sample, because it's people who are at the mall. You're not getting everybody. People who are willing to talk to other people and be surveyed, people who aren't in a hurry, you're getting a very skewed poll. And then a self-selected sample is probably one of the very worst. They're volunteers. So if you have, where people are volunteering themselves to be part of this poll, they've got an agenda, they've got more of a vested interest, and they're more likely, and they're not going to be the typical people, because the typical people are not going to volunteer for the poll. So you got to be careful about how you sample your data. That's one of the things that threw off our polls in the last election. Now, the other thing is, you just want to always be honest as possible. You don't want to bias sample. You don't want to, on purpose, pick people. Say, you want to show that Donald Trump is going to win. So you decide to go do your survey in the middle of a Trump rally. Is that going to be an honest survey of what the election is going to look like? No. That is a biased sample. You know, same thing. You go to Joe Biden and you go to the middle of his group and those are the people you survey. No, that's going to be a biased sample. So as scientists, as mathematicians, as people who work with statistics, we just always want to be people of integrity. Honesty is always best. No matter what it says, honesty is best. Okay, so come back. Our last section is going to be 11.5. You've made it to the end. Math is great.